At this time, we'll call to order the regular meeting of Common Council for March 17, 2026. Carrie, roll please.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Estercon.
Here.
Gantz.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Cuniger.
Here.
Ledvina.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
P-Rock.
Here.
Mayor Boyd.
I am here, thank you. Up next, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Ledvina. Discussion, comments? Looks like we're all good. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, public hearings. Up first, item A, public hearing on a request for a zoning map amendment to remove an outdated PDD overlay from 40 parcels within the Kingston Preserve Subdivision, generally located west from the North Honeysuckle Court and Lawrence Drive intersection. Will the clerk please read the notice of the public hearing?
The notice was published in the Press Times on February 27th and March 6th, 2026.
Thank you. Dan, recommendation from Plan Commission, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The item in front of you tonight is a cleanup action for the Kingston Preserve, or the bundles that are happening off of Lawrence Drive or off of the former Humana campus at the family.
Thank you, Scott.
Single-family subdivision that it was approved several years ago. It was approved about 3 months prior to our adoption of our new zoning code, and so it was done with the PDD. Whereas as the new zoning code came in, the new zoning code allowed it by right. And so as a result, at this time, the developer is requesting to remove that overlay, that PDD that is no longer necessary. So it's a map cleanup item. And then to move forward with the adjoining agenda item after this one. So that's what's being requested here tonight. The Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval.
Thank you. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. If anyone wants to speak, I don't see anyone in person because I see Chris there for Brown County. Anyone virtually want to speak on this item on the agenda, the public hearing regarding this item, just state your name. For the second time, anyone wants to speak on this item on the agenda regarding the PDD at Kingston Preserve, just state your name. Third and final time, while the public hearing's open, this is your chance to speak. All right, I'll go back to regular session and I'll entertain a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Nelson. Discussion, comments? All right, we need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Aye.
Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Cuniger.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you. Item B, public hearing on a request for a zoning map amendment from Office District to R145, Single Dwelling Detached District at 1200 Employers Boulevard, Parcel WD-2336-1. Will the clerk please read the notice of the public hearing?
The public hearing notice was published in the Press Times on February 27th and March 6th, 2026.
Recommendation from Plan Commission, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. The item is somewhat related to the last item that we saw, which is the kind of remnant piece of the office residential zoning district from a parcel that's been sitting since Employer Boulevard was constructed. It was all part of the office district prior to Humana selling their site and then leasing back. So as a result, as part of the Kingston Preserve Phase 2, they are requesting to clean up this item, which will ultimately be attached to the parcel that we just talked about here. So as a result, to remove that sliver and to have a single parcel or single zoning district on a parcel, the Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval.
Thank you. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. Again, I'll go to virtual land. Anyone wants to comment on this item on the agenda, now is your time. Second time. And for the third and final time, if you want to comment on this item on the agenda, now's your time to speak. I'll declare the public hearing closed and would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Nelson, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Discussion, comments? I do encourage folks to go out to check that area out with all the building going on around the former Humana campus. It's pretty exciting. Lots of stuff going in. That said, roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Cuniger.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Item 6, presentations, awards, recognition. We will have a South Bridge Connector informational project update by Brown County and the City of De Pere. And this is going Dan, Scott. Is Chris coming up too?
I guess that's me.
Yep, this is you.
Pop up there if you want.
Want me here at the table?
Yep, that'd be great, Chris. Do I need his name? Okay, I think, yeah, we can.
Oh, cool. Wow, I got all the controls.
And
Thanks,
Chris, you're
Dan.
going to notice that a little smaller meeting-wise, you know, as far as what, 26 supervisors, and I'm sure a little quieter, so I hope you're enjoying this. This was just for you.
Thank you. What happened here, Dan? There we go. I think I'll just put it in that mode. Okay, so we took the recommendations from the City of De Pere last fall, which we had worked through with Public Works, presented that to Highway Committee and Highway Commission, or PD&T. We went back and forth for several months on some things. Finally went back to them here in February. And then coming out of that, we had some costs and some conclusions from PD&T. So I'm here to share those with you. And so basically, it's kind of like a cafeteria style, if you think of it that way. So the plain, no color, that's a base price, aesthetic option, bridge wall, whatever it is. It's the plain concrete, just a form finish. You can do a single stain color, which is about $10 a square foot, or you can do either a split face block, which is about $8 a square foot, or like a ashlar cut stone, which is a little bit more at $10 a square foot. And then the multicolor stain is a little bit more than just a single stain color. And so if you look at the pictures there, on the left is the base, the middle option is that single stain kind of with a block style. On the right is the ashlar stone with the multicolor, which was what was preferred by De Pere. And when I get through to the end, it was ultimately concurred by the county. So then we look at railings. The normal rural type bridge is just a tubular, we call it a M-style railing. It's a galvanized metal railing. When you get on a project this size, we're going to end up with concrete parapet walls because of the size of the structures, the amount of traffic and everything else. And so on the parapet walls, you can either have just a plain parapet, or you can put a railing on the top of that, which dresses it up a little bit, right? And so we look at those different options. The M-rail, the concrete parapet, the plain concrete parapet is a base item. That's just a base cost. When we go to the C-rail, what we call the C-rail, there's a couple of styles. There's ultimately 6, but realistically in Wisconsin, only 2 of them are really used. The other 4 have never been used, so the costs are very high because there's really no companies that produce them. And so we look at what you can see in the bottom right corner is that C3 rail, then the picture in the upper right you can see is a lot like the way it would look with the ashlar stone with the C3 rail. And that's a black type. That railing does cost about $125 a linear foot is the add-on price to the contract number. The other option, kind of in the lower left, which there's certain areas where you get into protective situations where either the parapet and the C3 isn't tall enough or it's not prohibitive enough. And then we have to go with like a chain link style fencing to prevent people from falling over that edge or going up there. So when we look at parapet options, we can do the plain, the one color, which is $8, a multicolor. We can do the split block, the cut stone. So we looked at all of the parapets on the bridge, and this is a cross section of the Fox River Bridge. And so what we have is 2 sidewalks, one on each side. There's an outside parapet wall for those. Then there's an inside parapet wall, which separates the sidewalk from the traffic. And then there's a median parapet, which separates the eastbound from the westbound traffic because of the size of the structure and the amount of traffic. And so we looked at, there's 2 external parapet faces, there's 2 sidewalk, there's 2 interior sidewalk, there's 2 traffic, and then the center median. So when we looked at aesthetics there, we can do an aesthetic treatment on both sides of the outside parapet. So we can do stone on the outside, stone on the sidewalk side of the outside wall. We can do stone on the inside of the sidewalk parapet. On the traffic side, we generally don't, because of the debris and everything else with traffic, we usually don't do a treatment on those. We do sometimes a stain color, but generally we don't do like a stone treatment or something like that. Would be just a plain face, but there would be a stain color to it. And then the inside parapet wall, which would be very similar, the median parapet, which would be similar to the outside of the travel lanes. When we look at the bridge and the piers, so the base pier, which is the bottom left picture, is kind of that base pier option. It's just a plain rectangular pier, colored concrete. So it's just that plain gray, okay? The next option was an enhanced rectangular. So it's a little bit wider than the regular rectangular. And then they proposed a single stain pier, and then a multi-stain and a cut stone base for the pier, and then also for the cap of the pier, which, as you can see, due to the size of the structure, it does show up, but it's a little bit hindered just because of the size of the piers in relation to the cap and the base. Keep in mind that the piers are over 22 feet tall because of the height of the bridge. So, and then the third option, now the second option adds about $50,000 to the base price. And each pier is going to cost us about $1.25 million for each of the 9 piers we have to build. The next option, we looked at a flared style pier. So flared, it's a little bit wider at the top, so they're more enhanced. It does dress it up a little bit. It's a little bit hard to see in this picture, but it is a little bit wider than the rectangular. So the bottom is narrow, the top is a little wider. Again, with a single stain, with a multi-stain country stone. So that one we looked at the same, and that adds about $120,000 to the cost of the piers. The third option we looked at was switching that around, putting the stone veneer and the multi-stain on the pier itself, and then leaving the cap and the base with just a single stain color. So it gives it a little more aesthetic look, if you will, from the pier side. You have to keep in mind the bottom of the bridge is 6-foot concrete girder. So there's a 6-foot tall concrete girder which will not be colored. Those come standard gray from the factory. That's the way they're built. And so that one's not stained, it's not colored. So there is going to be some contrast to the bridge if you look at it that way. And so that's why, so the county leaned towards, that's going to add about $165,000 to each pier cost. So the county leaned towards that fourth option, which is the flared pier with the multicolor on the pier and the single color on the base and on the cap. Where'd my pictures go?
Huh.
Are they on there, Dan?
A snowstorm. Too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Escape out of that once, if you would, please.
Oh, you have it there, it just doesn't like it.
Yeah, doesn't like it, does it? Can't be displayed.
Did you email it to Scott?
I didn't. I have it on a flash drive. Let me try that quick. This is kind of important.
Don't tell IT.
Because the railroad doesn't have a lot of options.
By the way, I'm not sure I mentioned, but this is Chris Hardy, Highway Commissioner for Brown County, and he's overseeing the project. So if people are at home listening or picking up on it, that's who you're listening to right now.
You email it to what you don't tell IT.
No, I didn't. Scott did it.
Yeah.
Oh, just be a second. So far, it's going good for me.
We're seeing all the private personal stuff here too, so.
The inner workings of the
Yeah.
highway number.
So far. There.
There.
There we go. I'll leave that. So with railroad bridges, we have very few options. The railroad tends to make most, if not all of those decisions. But we have what's called a steel plate through girder is the proposed bridge design, which would be the bridge in the bottom right. So it has a very tall outside steel wall, pretty plain. There's basically a couple of options. You can do painted blue, painted gray, or the weathering steel, okay, which is kind of the base option. After looking at the options and the cost, you can see the cost differences are $200,000 or $220,000. Then they have to be repainted about every 10 to 15 years, depending on weather and paint. So the PD&T looked at just sticking, in light of with the ashlar stone facade and the multi-stain color for the walls, they thought the weathered steel might look the best, actually, and would probably work the best long-term for the project. And so for the county, we're looking at just sticking with the weathered steel for the bridge for the railroad. There's a little more information I'll give on that in a couple more slides. I got to go through a little bit more on the aesthetics. Bump outs and lighting. So the Fox River Bridge will have about 3 locations on each side of the bridge where the sidewalk will bump out for people to get a view of the river. That's kind of the picture in the upper left that you see. There's that kind of where it goes out in like half an octagon shape. So that would be a kind of a place in the sidewalk where people could step aside. They could look at the river. Bicycles could go by, whatever, what have you. Those run about $10,000 each. With 6 of those on the bridge, they're going to cost us about $60,000. The lighting, really in the lower right, you can see the picture of the lighting. For the corridor, we're just doing the median lighting. We're not you'll see in this picture, this is actually GV or Monroe over in the town of Ledgeview is what this picture is. The Southbridge corridor is pretty much a mirror of that corridor. It's very similar. The only one of the differences, we'll just have the median lighting on this corridor. We won't have the outside lighting that is shown in the picture. Lighting is a base cost to the project. So then when we get down to all the options, basically what the county was proposing was a cut stone veneer for the form liner, which was a recommendation that came from the city. The multicolor stain be added to the cut stone veneer, which again was one of the recommendations that came from the city. And then going with the C3 style painted black, which matches what was agreed to with the city previously. There are some non-form liner segments. So what, mostly within the railroad right-of-way, a few sections of the Fox River Bridge, especially the Fox River Trail Bridge, use a single color stain where they're noted, and I can kind of go through that for you a little bit. And then there's some segments on Hemlock Creek Bridge, which is the town of Lawrence, and the East River Bridge, which will be the town of Ledgeview. There's no plan at this time to do any aesthetics for the pier wall or the abutments or the piers, because most of those are pretty deep structures and the general public just isn't going to see them. So there was really no reason to do those. Not as visible as the Fox River project. So the Hemlock Creek Bridge, the exterior parapet wall and the interior parapet wall will have aesthetic treatment. The substructure is a pier wall. Hemlock Creek, like I said, is a narrow, deep waterway. So there's no boat frequency whatsoever. There's 4 street lights on the bridge. Basically, we're doing the multi-stain, the cut stone, the C3 rail, and then there's no bump outs. So that added about $100,000 to that project. That project is paid 50-50 by Brown County and the town of Lawrence. For the CN crossing, it gets a little more complicated. You can kind of see, it's a little hard in this picture, but sorry, but I gotta stand up to show you. So there's a contrast here that you can barely see, which is right here, and there's another one on that side. Basically, that's the railroad right-of-way, okay? So the railroad really won't. The railroad generally doesn't accept any kind of form liner treatment on their structures or their property. They will, we hope, we don't know for sure, but we're hoping that they will allow us to stain it one color. So the goal was, the thought was we would stain the railroad portion of the walls just a tan color, just a single tan color. And then on both sides of that, we would bring in the ashlar cut stone with the multicolor facade, and then the C3 rail or the chain link fence over the top, depending on location and safety reasons. Okay, and so with that, then there's a large retaining wall and a wing wall that's adjacent to it. Part of that in the railroad property will be single color, like I said. The balance would be multicolor with the stone. The cost options for the bridge with the weathered plain concrete with a single stain color, we add about $22,000. The retaining wall with the multicolor with the stone, we add almost $400,000. To do the C3 rail adds about the same, so overall we add about $857,000 to the railroad bridge cost, above just the base cost estimate. Okay. For the Fox River Bridge, the PD&T looked at the aesthetic flared pier with the single stain smooth base and cap, and then the ashlar stone with the multicolor stain on the piers. Okay, and so with the side bump outs, which are 6, there'd be 3 on each side. We do the multicolor stain on the parapet walls and the inside of the sidewalk parapet, with the C3 railing on top of the parapet walls on the outside of the bridge. Adding in the color for the pier and the caps, we end up with the bump outs are $60,000. The exterior parapets are about $340,000. The sidewalk works out at about $200,000. The traffic parapet stain color is about $54,000. We have $600,000 in railing costs, and then the piers end up at about $1.485 million, which is about $200,000 per pier over what was the base cost. And so we end up adding about $2.7 million to the cost of the Fox River Bridge with those aesthetics. So this then would be the preferred. So it's a stone pier with the stained cap and base, and that would be the preferred option. This was the alternate. This is a bigger picture of that alternate. So you can kind of see the two in contrast with each other. The Fox River Trail, little bit harder to do aesthetics on. The majority of the trail, the Fox River Trail crossing is a prefab, so the bridge deck itself is kind of a prefab structure, so that's built off site. The sides, you end up with mostly chain link fence for safety reasons. We don't want debris thrown on vehicles. We don't want people climbing fences and things like that. And so it's a hammerhead style pier. There is some option for veneer on the piers, and there is some option with, there will be a MSC or a soil engineered wall around that to hold some of the embankment. On the trail side will be retaining wall opposite on the existing trail. So the existing trail is here. We have to build off alignment because the trail is a rails to trails project. And so because of that, the DNR has oversight and they won't allow us to build on alignment. Because if for some reason, if the trail ever reverted to rail, there's like a 10-day requirement by the agreement that the rail has to be able to be put back in. So we end up having to build a trail bridge that's off alignment. So what happens is we end up with a retaining wall on the trail side. On the other side, the ground will just slope to blend in with the existing. And so that's why we have the big hump in the lower right picture. You'll see the large hump, camelback style, if you will. That's why that's that way. The trail going up to the bridge and down from the bridge has to be less than 5% to be ADA compliant. And so we had to meet all those requirements, which is why that ends up looking that way. But then to put the aesthetics on that, we end up at about $295,000 added costs from the base price of the bridge. East River, which is over in the town of Lawrence, simplified, we basically had 2 bump outs Exterior parapets worth 24 grand. The pedestrian parapets are about 31 and 31. Another 8 for the traffic with the C3 railing at 62. The East River ends up at about 178,000 above the base bid or the base estimate for the bridge. So overall, looking at what are all these costs, right? Lots of numbers. So when we look at the total project and looking at the aesthetic costs, so the aesthetic column on the right, on the left, I should say, the first one, the 30% design estimate. So that was the project design estimate for those projects through the 30% design. The state fed is the state and federal grant money that we've received. And so for GV15, we have a $30 million grant from the Wisconsin legislature in the last legislative session. We have $1.7 million in congressional directed spending that we're using just for design. The local is still responsible for all of the real estate on the project and anything that's above design or above the 30 million. For GV16, we have that $50 million state legislative directed funding. If we have any excess from GV16, we can use it on 15 for construction only. And then we also have another $3.1 million in design costs for GV16, which came from the federal government. For GV17, we have a STP project there, so that's a state transportation funding of about $6.5 million. And then for GV18, we just received $5.3 million from the MPO, so we're going to be adding some more state funding into the project. Okay, and so where we end up in county costs totals and local cost totals, overall around 29 million-ish. The number's down another 5 million now because of GV18, so now we're down around 24 million. The aesthetic costs about 293. Overall, the total aesthetics are 4.1 million. We can cover 3.6 of that in GV15 and GV16 in the grant funding that we're receiving from the state. We'll still have, at least right now, we still have an estimated about $2 million of state fed funding that may go unused just because we're under budget right now for the project, which is good because we don't know what inflation's going to do. We're not building till 28 and 29. So for the aesthetic cost, out of the 4.1 million, the aesthetics will end up costing the county about 300,000. They'll end up costing the locals about the same, 290 to 300. The Pere, do you remember from that table, Dan, I sent you what your aesthetics costs were? I can't remember. I want to say it was about 150 or 170-ish. Right, because of the percentage, yep. Because Hemlock is half paid by Lawrence, which is 80,000. Ledgeview pays a portion of the East River and the Fox Trail. And so I think De Pere's aesthetic costs are around 170,000, basically. The balance will be covered through the project grants for construction. There's a breakdown there. Yep, 173.
All right, you ready for questions?
Yeah, I'll leave a copy of this with Dan and Scott, and they can distribute a copy to all of you to take a look at.
Great. First, thanks all for coming in and sharing this with us.
Yep.
Really quickly, what's the total cost for De Pere as far as we can tell? Because it's a little bit less than we had talked about originally, correct?
Quite a bit less. I mean, with the 50 million from GV16 and the 30 million from 15,
Knew about
right?
that. Yeah.
We're saving 40 million from the original project estimate for the city because half of that would have been city costs. Because the city and the county are splitting 15 and 16.
Okay.
And so with that 80 million plus the 5 million from the federal, so there's 85 million. So ultimately 42.5 million of the city's funds are going to be covered by those state and federal grants.
This is good news, because I think we started above $30 million. Oh, he does, okay.
Yeah, I got more detail on that one.
Okay,
Yep,
Yay.
So I can go through my stuff if you like.
yep.
please. I think his mic's off.
First.
Oh, yeah, should we do questions for Chris first, so it's
probably say,
still fresh? Questions? Now, by the way, I'll ask one question, and that is because of resolution that was passed in 2022. You're referencing Fox River Bridge. We put together a resolution for a name on the structure. Any idea where that is?
The county has chosen not to name the bridge.
So it's just going to go Fox River Bridge?
Yep, at least right now, yep.
Okay.
The county did, so we did adopt the county GV for the name of the roadway. The county accepted the Generations Boulevard. We will start installing those signs at Lawrence here over the next few weeks. There are a couple of property owners over there that the city probably wants to talk to because they're not happy about the name change from Southbridge to Generations Boulevard. It does affect their homes because their addresses will change. And the postmaster will need to be notified of the changes that are coming, just so you're aware of that.
Thank you. All right, questions, comments? Alderperson Conacher.
I have two areas of questions. If you'll go back, Piers, I don't know. The four choices. If you could just in general kind of speak to, is there, and I'm assuming I know the answers to these, but I want to hear from you. Is there any difference in functionality, maintenance, or longevity of any of the choices?
From a maintenance in terms of there is maintenance on the stain. That depends, and Scott can probably speak to it too. Potentially, there's vandalism issues. The other issue would be just the natural deterioration due to sunlight. But as I've noticed, that's more related to the sun and the location of the sun than anything, because that tends to be what deteriorates that color the most. But other than that, I mean, one is no different than the other, really, you know.
Yeah, it's such a considerable price difference between them, and if there's no, integrity to the bridge being, which I assumed it wouldn't, because you wouldn't suggest one being more safe than the other. It's interesting to me because the one that is the most basic is the most aesthetically pleasing to me. It looks the most continuous from a design perspective as opposed to switching the tones and the stains. Is there any additional perspective you can provide to us as to why spend more money here when the base bridge functionally is fine?
Probably the biggest indicator towards looking at aesthetics came from the public meeting process. There was overwhelming comments from the public to not just build a huge plain bridge. They wanted to see something that had aesthetics and was more pleasing, especially the people that lived around the bridge. But if we had 200 people, there were probably 140 that wanted to see something above just a plain gray Wisconsin bridge.
Okay.
And in addition, though, as well, Public Works, when we went through this, I know Alderperson Carpenter and others said, we really want to have something that's aesthetically pleasing. So I think it came through unanimously through Public Works that we are willing to spend the money. I'm just answering more of the question. It wasn't just the public, it was Public Works as well, too. So based on that directive, that's what they went with. Thanks.
Yeah, I guess aesthetically pleasing is. And then on the fencing, this was when we saw this months ago. I remember asking about this in particular, kind of giving it more of a, an Escort to a Cadillac comparison. Again, here, the cost variation between the two is considerable. And it's odd to me that there isn't any price options in between these two, from being very basic to being, quite aesthetically pleasing, but there has to be something in between there. And that was actually one of my requests when we initially saw the presentation. So I'm just wondering why it's just one or the other.
Yeah, working with DOT standard detailed designs, so WSDOT standards, and there really is nothing between fencing and a parapet with a type C railing. Those are the kind of the two options that DOT allows.
All right.
Yeah, it seems strange, but there really isn't, you know. And that's why, like I said, the fencing tends to be more from a safety standpoint, you know.
Definitely. You can't, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to have it. It's quite a dramatic swing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Is that all your questions, Amy? Do you have others? Anyone else have any questions or comments while Chris is right here? Otherwise, we can just go Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. I like a lot of these aesthetic upgrades. Just going back to the mayor's question, though, when you said the county decided not to have a name for the bridge, is that coming from like county staff or the county board, or who's that exactly coming from?
So the PD&T, the Highway Committee, which is Planning, Development, and Transportation Committee, subcommittee of the county board, took no action at the item at their last meeting.
Okay.
And so it didn't go to county board.
So potentially there could be life is what I'm hearing.
Okay. I think the reason we brought it forward too is because the current bridge does have a name, Claude Alloway Bridge. So that's why I think it should have a name, but.
And we can have continued
Yeah.
discussions on that, absolutely. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
Yes, if you went to the railroad part of it, please. So you're gonna go with the rustic color in there. The previous bridges built in other parts, maybe you can answer or can't answer, do you get a lot of graffiti gonna be put on there? I mean, as you watch the railroad cars go by, there's a lot of graffiti, so I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Or great art, I should say. It's not graffiti.
right, yeah.
Anymore, it's hard.
It's art, yeah.
We generally don't have too many locations in the county where we deal with it. We do have a little trouble over on 43 on the east side of Green Bay on I-43. But and 54, 57 through town there, we have a few spots, but for the most part, we don't have much issue with graffiti.
And then my second question on the color of it, I mean, it is what it is, but you take a metal, and it's probably just a cheaper paint, because you can take water towers that are painted nowadays with epoxy painting and everything, and they last 30 years, and they sit out in the sun and everything else. But I assume that would be a lot more expensive and everything, but it's just a thought, if it was ever thought on any of these bridges or anything, trying different paints. Like I say, you look at all the new water towers that get built or when they get repainted.
Yeah, from a PD&T perspective, ultimately they looked at the weathered style, thinking the weathered style with the tan stain and the multicolor would probably blend in well and look well together, as opposed to trying to do a painted where, yeah, 20, 25 years generally. I think we were 25 in Winneconne on the water tower. And then you have to get railroad permission again, and you got to bag the bridge for environmental reasons, and then how do you do that with railroad traffic? And it became a lot of maintenance questions and whether or not the county wanted to deal with them.
I get it. It was just
Yeah.
a question.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll just head to Dan then, and you can still ask more afterwards, obviously, Dan.
Now you want to know how to fund this.
Yep.
So I'll get through it here fairly quickly. I'll try to kind of hit the high points. But when we first saw this project, I guess you'd say probably back in 2020, we talked about a $30 million price tag. By the time 2023 came around, I redid the analysis and working with your predecessors and a bunch of others, it was down to about 26 million. And then from 23 to now, through the great work of the county, through the elected officials at the state level, and through the work of yourselves, it's the entire, I guess you say, price tag for our majority section has dropped significantly. We're at about, with what we've paid today in cost plus what Chris had put out for an estimate so far, we're going to be about a 15.6 million in current estimates. It may be higher as bids come in, but I'm giving you a general ballpark here. So that is, again, that's due to combined funding requests from various different agencies at the state and federal level, so that's great there. From segment 1 or GV14, GV15, and GV16, or segments 1, 2, and 3 from the city's perspective, we can cover those with our tax incremental district funding. And so all of those areas are directly benefited by this Southern Bridge project. So we've had a lot of growth in those areas that are waiting on the Southern Bridge, I guess you would say, and that's a direct benefit of the tax increment district and therefore can be used. Where we run a little bit of a challenge is GV17 and GV18, and that's our segments 4 and 5. And that's where we just haven't had the growth in that side, partially because the bridge isn't there to encourage the growth, I guess you would say. There's a lot of wait time there, so we just haven't had as much growth as we had on the west side. So segment 4, we can partially fund, and segment 5, or GV17 and GV18, we don't have any TID coverage at all in those areas. So what does that look like? We've, as I ran through the entire updated comprehensive analysis, when we have the complete coverage on those first 3 segments, we have about a $2 million funding gap on that fourth segment, or GV17, and then our share of the entire share of that, sorry, 3.7 approximate share, with a total gap coverage of about $5.7 million that we can't cover with the tax increment district, which means it would either have to be covered through general fund at that point. So that's where we're at from a coverage standpoint. Now, staff has been working with the county on, can we work on some alternative scenarios, and I can talk about those, but in general, that's where we're at right now. Out of all of that one, we have about a $5.6 to $5.7 million coverage that we can't cover with tax incremental district financing.
Thank you. One of the scenarios potentially shifting money from a TID, is that a possibility? Or?
Well, there's a couple scenarios. And so right now with the county, and this is, Chris and I have talked about this a few times, and this is a conversation piece amongst the elected officials, really what's going to come down to is right now in every county project, there's a 50-50 share in how we do things. Now, if we would have done this all in one big project or job instead of GV 15, 16, 17, and 18 and just had one big corridor, this would be a completely different picture because it all kind of relates in the half-mile radius boundaries of tax increment districts changes and the whole calculation changes. But where we're at right now is where we've gotten the most federal coverage from and the most state coverage from are the TIDs that were the most successful. So it's almost wish we could have had it the other way, I guess you would say, but that's just not the way that it has worked out. So from staff's perspective, and we've talked about this, we'd like to see maybe a modification to those agreements so that the overall, at the end of the day, the number's still the same, but maybe certain segments are done, maybe not in a 50-50 ratio. Maybe they're completely covered one way, or 50-50, 70-30, or whatever the ratio number is. I've done that analysis. But if we do that, and again, that's a conversation piece amongst the elected officials and how you'd like us to handle that one. If we do go that route and request that from the county, our general fund share can drop to about 1.8 million. So again, if we decide to request that deviation. And then with the tax incremental district boundary, if we amend tax increment district number 12 to include some overlap parcels up to 11, that number can actually drop down to about 900,000. So how we function these things are going to ultimately be a request of the council and how you would like us to direct staff to go forward. But ultimately, if we request to deviate from the typical standard agreement, we would have to work with the county and amend those agreements. But as I mentioned, currently we're about a $5.7 million gap.
Thank you. Any questions anyone has for Dan? And you still have some more information, or is that kind of what you're going to?
That's about it. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else to be kind of talked about on those ones. I try to keep it as high level as possible. I see spreadsheets in my dreams at night now these days. So
When do you anticipate we'll have the discussion as a body regarding funding mechanism on our part?
that we brought it here as just as an update. We can bring it as an actual agenda item at Finance and Personnel at some point in the future, but it's really going to be a directive of the council. Even a directive tonight, just to continue to work with the county, would likely be enough for us to continue to move forward.
Yeah, we can't really say that kind of stuff anyway. It's just information, so I don't think we can
Yeah.
shove stuff your way, but
No. So if
I
we put
think
an
it should
item
be a
on
future agenda item.
Finance and Personnel, if that's fine, we can.
I'll bring it up during future agenda items. Questions, comments for either? This has been very informative, so we really, again, appreciate you coming in, Chris, and sharing this information.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Thanks much. Dan,
Thank
all
you.
good? Scott, all good? Thanks.
Don't forget that.
All right. Item 7, public comments. Anyone have any public comments on items that are not on the agenda? Now is your time to speak. No one here in person, so virtually. Item 7, if you have any comments that are on, not items on the agenda, now is your time to speak. And for the third and final time, public comment period is now open. All right, item 8, consent agenda. I think by now you pretty much know how this works. Everyone does, right? Consent agenda. Anyone having that they want pulled out of here? That said, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through D.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Gantz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, new business. 9A, recommendation from Plan Commission to approve a 47-lot and 1 outlot final plat of Kingston Preserve First Addition at 1200 Employers Boulevard, Parcels WD-2336, WD-2336-1.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Nelson. Discussion, comments. Seems you're all good. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 9B, recommendation from Finance Personnel Committee for Common Council consideration and possible action regarding the Community Service Grant Program policies. It's my understanding there was nothing that came from Finance Personnel Committee, so this is pretty much a wide open, free-for-all discussion right now. So I'll entertain any comments you might have regarding possible action or ideas regarding the Community Service Grant Program policies we have in place up to and keep it as it is. Alderperson Cuniger.
So to kind of just start off the brainstorming portion of how to frame this up, grants that I've dealt with in other capacities have set up parameters around, like, for example, the Green Bay Give Back from the Green Bay Packers has a 3-year rotation, 1 year's education, 1 year's elderly care, 1 year's parks and recs. I just made that up. And then you are eligible to apply once in each one of those once in a 3-year cycle. So if you apply one time, you can only do it that one time in those 3 years, and you have to select one of those areas. And the maximum amount of a gift is $7,000 or something along those lines. So we could put parameters around this. I think Alderperson Carpenter was looking for like some kind of thought process around, do we want to have it that you only are every other year or every 3 years or things like that. So that could be something that we use as a benchmark to, do we want to group them? And do we want to have them in some kind of rotation, be it every other year or, less frequently or more frequently than that?
Thank you. Alderperson Carpenter.
So back onto that, very well done said there, but there's 14 groups so far that have come in there. So if you're trying to figure out how you want to divide that up, I guess there's a number to start with, as Alderperson Cunninger said. You know what I mean? If you want to make it 2 or 3 year, if you do your math, you can come up with your conclusions, how much we're giving to each group. You know what I mean? Is the dollar going to change? That's a question to me. I mean, they're all worthy causes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone, the lock tenders, I mean, that's a very important area. A lot of people go over that bridge, make things look very nice. I mean, so I don't know who to say should get money or don't, and we come up with it. Next thing on the agenda, I don't know if it's even possible, but is how our TID money went somewhere else. Is there more money that we can pull from some other entity as we take our TIDs going forward, and it went into that housing or that, I'd have to look at it, that one other plan. You know, I'm just saying, I don't know if like where we extend a TID, if there's available money, and not trying to take tons of money, but do we have more money or don't have money? That's more all just questions to ask, and I don't know if we can or can't.
Kim?
I can start on the TID one. The reason we are able to extend it and use it for housing is per state statute. So state statute is pretty particular about what we can use it for. So no, we could not use extended TID money for this. However, if the council feels that the amount we allocate towards this on an annual basis is not enough, that is something we could explore during the budget process under your direction. We'd find the source somewhere if that was your direction. But we don't have like extra bags of money laying around. That would be fabulous.
No, and that is my point. I mean, we are giving money out. Probably other communities don't do this. So I'm just saying, no, I'm not here to say, let's go borrow tons of more money or get money from somewhere else just to get there, just like building this bridge where comments get brought up and everything. Where did the ideas come from? Are we willing to pay for things extra? That'd be up to the council, like you just said, how much you want to go out, and you got what do the taxpayers really want out of this? How many of them really understand that we give this money out or anything? There's probably a lot of people that don't even know about it in our community.
Dan has a comment. Dan Lindstrom, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
Well, I was just going to say, Alderperson Kuniger, you made a point that if you did a topic year and one of those years became a housing grant, you absolutely could, but that's the only thing you could use it for because some communities have started doing that. If you did a community service grant for housing some related component, that's the only way that would work.
Alderperson Kuniger.
Another thing to consider, and we've done this in the past, when we've sliced and diced it down, which is nice to still grant a gift, but it does make it hard to make an impact if the gift is instead of $2,500 now $250 because we had 10 applications. So that's another thing to just consider in the process of how putting some parameters around. Like maybe we want to maintain 5 gifts a year so that they're a little more substantial and they can make more of an impact with them. And because they'll be spread out, that will allow for greater impact to each person that gets a gift.
May I offer a suggestion? Because we're kind of going back and forth on this, and they're all good ideas, but we kind of put this together on our own without really searching out there as to who does what. Maybe it's not a bad idea to go out there and see who does what. In other words, maybe Kim can do a reach out to her counterparts of managers and administrators. Do you guys have a community service grant? And if so, can we just kind of see what it looks like? There could be something out there, rather than us reinvent something that makes total sense for us. I'm going to Urban Alliance meeting next week, and I can talk to other mayors and other administrators and whatever, and say, you guys have anything? That might be a better way to go, rather than us trying to reinvent something right now. There could be something out there that just makes total sense to us. At minimum, something to look at. Does that kind of make sense? Because I don't think we want to leave any stone unturned in this, because it's kind of important to everybody, and we want to get it done right. And we want to be as inclusive as possible. I'm not really too crazy about having a 3-year cycle, because I'm not saying this but I want it as inclusive as we can and not miss people just because they got to wait for a 3rd-year cycle, because they could not even be in their business anymore after 1 year. And these are small amounts of money when you think about it. I personally would like to look to see, what does everyone else do? Does that make sense? We never really did that. We just kind of went.
Yeah.
Because I think we want to get this done right. And we don't want to, we want everyone eligible that can get this, that's potentially worthy to get it, one of these things. So that's my recommendation, and maybe just staff.
Happy to do that, for sure.
Is that okay for a start?
Bless you.
And then we kind of go from there, bring it back to finance, and maybe we have something out there. Like I said, I'll be at Urban Alliance next Wednesday, and I'll talk to a number of people. Alderperson Ledmano.
Yeah, I like that idea. I will say, when I worked at the city, we had so little interest in this program, and it's grown so much.
Yeah.
We have so much interest in it now, so I would really be in favor of expanding the budget on it for next year.
Great.
Because I don't want to see people discouraged to apply. Because, regardless of the number of times they've applied, they are making big impacts in our community, and I think that's really important. But no, I agree with you. We should see what other communities are doing.
Sure. And maybe a lot don't have anything, and we're just that incredible community, which we are. Alderperson Gantz.
I agree. I think it's good to see what everybody else is doing and get some ideas. And then every other year, maybe. Those are my thoughts.
Sounds good. And I'm envisioning we'll have some direction and decisions made as we move forward here. And I think that's what everyone wants. Is everyone okay with that? I mean, it's really kind of discussion only. Alderperson Condiger, are you okay with that? Okay. All good? All right. Let us then go to new business item C. Recommendation from Finance Personnel Committee on TID number 8 financial statements and to approve fund transfer.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Nelson, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Discussion, comments. Alderperson Hanson.
So just to clarify for the record, this 433,000 is beyond the year increment we collected for the Affordable Housing Fund?
We're seeing nods, but how about like some kind of words?
Yeah, the item in front of you is the balance of what is left, or what is the surplus of the tax increment district outside of the affordable extension.
And it looks like we're planning to just use it to reduce borrowing costs for capital projects in next year's budget cycle. And that was what was done last year too, correct?
Correct.
All right.
All good? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Other questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Condiger.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Esther Khan.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. 9D, recommendation from the Finance Personnel Committee to hire associated appraisal consultants for statutory assessor, annual maintenance, and alternating year interim market updates for 2027 to 2030 in the amount of $360,000.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Discussion, comments. Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I'm wondering if staff can explain what the maintenance is going to consist of in the off years where we're not doing the full revaluations.
The maintenance years would involve making assessment changes in scenarios where there were building permits pulled, so updates made to the home. But other than that, just status quo in the maintenance year.
And do you know why Associated, the one we're recommending, has the same cost for every year, 27 through 2030, including in the maintenance off years? Is $90,000 in the off years is the same as it is when we do the full revaluations?
It's just spreading the cost out rather than having spikes.
Because yeah, I see Accurate has spikes, so. And then also the bottom, it looks like there was an option to go out to 2031, so I'm just wondering why staff's recommending only going to 2030.
Kim?
There really wasn't a substantial cost savings to go that extra year, so we felt that going to 2030 gave us some additional flexibility.
Okay.
Again, so residents do know here, because we're kind of going back and forth, so the assessed portion of it will not be every year, but we'll have the maintenance year in between, correct?
Yep, so
So
that will
this is
definitely
different.
be a change to.
And we'll have to educate.
And that's what,
Alderperson Ledna.
I have a question about that because for so long, it's been drilled in us that the annual full reval was so important to do. And I don't know if that was like a Larry thing. Because now the memo's saying, most communities don't do that. Most communities do it on a longer term maintenance schedule. And for so long, we've been told that that's not the way we should be doing it. So I guess I'm wondering why that's changed when nothing's really changed with the market.
I will defer to others because I was not here, so I don't know if there was a reason, but I can confirm that most communities are not doing every year. And in our discussions with Associated professionally, they felt that we would be fine going on an every other year schedule. Those two things I can confirm, but I will defer to Dan, Pam, or Carrie on previous direction.
Yeah, actually, prior to Larry leaving, we were kind of trending in this direction from a discussion standpoint, because actually we are in a different marketplace than we were in 15 years ago. Even from 2008, or even from 2002 to 2008, the amount of home prices that are increasing without the amount of new stock coming online is different from what we've ever seen, at least over the past 30 years. And so as a result, a lot of communities are seeing these constant, I guess you would say, large jumps every year, and so this is a means for those communities to sort of kind of level that out a little bit, because like I said, we're over the past since COVID, we are not in a situation that we were 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, we only started doing the annual reval in like 2017?
2017, 2016, 17, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a much more steady climb of home prices. Now it's a much more steep decline or steep incline, and as a result, we're seeing some large jumps across the board, and a lot of communities are saying that those large jumps are just too much on an annual basis. And so even several of the assessors that I've worked with over the past few years before I got here actually even said, let's start to level those out a little bit in other communities.
Now, part of this too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was we didn't have a lot of competitors competing on this particular product, and we got some more this time. And it was interesting to see what they could do differently. Is that fairly accurate?
We had one additional this time from last year's.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's who's being selected or being recommended for selection tonight.
So it was good to see things differently in a different lens as we're looking
We're
forward.
we're very happy we went out for RFP. And the one thing I'll add, doing a full every year versus an every other year, still very much is a policy call. There's no right or wrong there. It is a bit of a choice. With this scenario, given the fact that we knew this consultant had a cost increase already, and that cost increase was more dramatic with the every year, that's why as staff we recommended the every other. That said, if council has a strong feeling one way or another, we can obviously pivot. There's no absolute black and white, right and wrong.
No, I'm happy. I should say that. I'm happy to see the every other year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Anyone else have any comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I had quite a few discussions about this with our former city administrator. And as I recall, one of the main reasons we were doing the annual is so that, because housing prices were jumping like 10% each year. So it's spread out more. So instead of doing, one big increase of 20 or 30%, if you just do it every 2 or 3 years, it's just 10% annually. The other thing too is our assessed values are supposed to be within 90% of the equalized value that the state determines. So when housing prices are going up 10% or more a year, technically, if you go even more than 1 year, you're potentially out of compliance. Now, all that being said, based on a lot of conversations I've had with residents, I do think they are generally in favor of an every other year because of what they see as the burden of the increases every year. But it's not going to be spread out as much, which again was the original purpose of the annual. So.
And you kind of hit on that too. Other municipalities wait to get out of compliance. So
Way
we
out of
actually are
compliance.
always ahead of the game in De Pere. So we've been kind of proud of that part of it. Green Bay, I know, for example, would be one most recently. Alderperson Carpenter.
Yes, I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Alderperson Hanson there. So Dan, when would you think we'd be out of compliance? Because that's what a lot of communities do. They wait until they fall out of compliance and they jump in. And that was the thing. All of a sudden, if I paid attention to Larry's discussion, it was, some people get away with cheap taxes for a long time if you built your house or when your house was done. And then when you come into compliance, they're really mad because it's 30%, 40%, 50% increase in their taxes. So that was some of the thinking, I think, behind Larry. And you bring in your revenue every year, you're up to your revenue value that you can get. So where would we stand as you look right now? I know you don't have a magic ball.
I was going to say, I don't have a crystal ball, but if you take a look at where our growth has been happening at 8 to 9% annually, you start to compound that. And I know it's not a 1-to-1 ratio when you look at it that way, but when you consider that's where we've been, you can see that you could get out of compliance fairly quickly. And you do have a couple of years to come into compliance, but you don't want to be under their radar for very long. But you'd be 1 to 2 years is probably going to be your max that you would find that you would be significantly out of compliance after, if we continue the trend that we're at now. And that's just a nature of the net new construction not keeping up pace with actual property appreciation rates and stuff like that. So,
Dan, would it be fair to say then that on an every other year basis, we might fall back 1 year, but we're going to come back the next
Exactly.
year. So
Yep.
we're not staggering 3 years, 5 years,
Yeah.
or waiting. We are still going every other year. Additionally, with that 4-year contract, and additionally, if at any time the council wants to move to the full valuation, we simply ask associated what the cost is for that, and they would likely give us a cost. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind doing the full valuation. It's really just a cost consideration.
And back to that, by going with just the 4 years here, it gives us a good chance to see where costs are in 4 years. So, I mean,
Correct.
I think this is a very good decision.
Great. Other
Gina.
questions or comments? I'm sorry, Alderperson Lebanon.
So do we know of any local municipalities that use Associated? Or do we get any like personal, I know they provide references, but did we get any personal references?
We talked to several of the references they provided as well as others. So most probably closest to us, the town of Lawrence uses them.
Oh, okay.
Carrie, you can maybe chime in, but the references generally were overwhelmingly stellar.
Oh, good.
Good. Other questions, comments? This is really important, so
Yeah.
this is worthy of a conversation, so really good questions and comments. All right, Alderperson Gantz.
I know I said this the other night, but I'm glad that we did the RFPs because I think it's good to check around and not keep using the same one. And also, I think every other year is good. I mean,
Very
I
good.
don't, I mean, every year is a lot. And I know when we talk to our constituents, they don't like it. So I think every other year we can see how that works.
Thank you. They like it when they sell, as we always say. You like that big number. Other questions, comments? All right, we need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Hanson.
Aye.
Honegger. Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Essercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, new business. E, recommendation from Finance Personnel Committee to approve overhire of 1 firefighter for the fire department. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Conager. Discussion, comments. We have the chief here if you have anything. I know we've been down this road before in the past, so everyone's kind of used to it. No questions are not a bad thing, so.
Yeah.
That said, we need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Conager.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Essercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, recommendation from Finance Personnel Committee to approve overhire of 1 police officer for the police department.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Levin, seconded by Alderperson Conager. Questions, comments? You don't want to go against one department, do you? You want to pick? Chief's, the other chief's not here. So oh, okay, all right. Never mind, Chief Moraski. My apologies.
Look, you caught yourself on camera even.
Oh, right away he did.
He's not in person.
Questions, comments? And again, I kind of flippantly say this. We've done this in the past, and this is actually a really good method we found out for both police and fire EMS as far as personnel are concerned. So it works well. Alderperson Carpenter.
So with both of them, the money they're asking for the unassigned reserves, if they put in a memo or something saying what it would cost, that's not it's a true number, but if you calculate in the overtime and everything else, that isn't how proper way to say that. The 26,000 or whatever Jeremy is asking for here isn't a true number. If he had to wait, go through the overtime process and everything, they might spend 26,000 in overtime and other fees. If they could put that in their memo a little bit, because they've been doing this for years, I think they could calculate this out somewhere.
Does that make sense? Both chiefs?
Yep, we can do that
I
for
had a
next time.
discussion earlier, but
Yep.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Other questions, comments? All right, we need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Essercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item G, recommendation from Board of Public Works on award of contract for MSC Expansion.
Make motion approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Ledman. Discussion, comments? Looks like we're all good.
I have one quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderperson Hanson.
So great news with this coming in well under budget. I assume we're just going to bond less than this year?
Correct.
Okay.
That is great news, though, yes. Yeah, they were excited when the bids came out. Correct, Scott? Yeah, very excited. All right. That said, we have a motion in a second, correct? Yes. Roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager. Ledvina.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9H, recommendation from Board of Public Works on award of contract 2604, Ontario Street Reconstruction.
Move to approve.
A second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Discussion, comments. Looks like we're all good. That said, roll call vote, please.
Alderperson P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager. Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you. Up next, item I, recommendation from Board of Public Works on award of contract 2606, concrete street repairs.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Nelson. Discussion, comments. Seems we're all good. That said, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Aye.
Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item J, recommendation from the License Committee on an application for a Class A fermented malt beverage, Class A intoxicating liquor license for Homegrown Farmstand, 377 Main Avenue, Suite B, Agent Nicole Evers, De Pere, Wisconsin.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion Alderperson Carpenter, seconded Alderperson Gantz. Discussion, comments. Looks like we're all good. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to old business. Item 10A, recommendation from Plan Commission to approve a 3-lot certified survey map at 206 North Wisconsin Street, 224 North Wisconsin Street, and 550 William Street, parcels ED-886, ED-875, ED-875-1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion Alderperson Carpenter, seconded Alderperson P-Rock. Discussion, comments. Looks like we're all good. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11, resolutions. So we have an option here to suspend the rules and approve all of these as is, except we do have to take out G, the state of emergency declaration, correct? That's going to come out. So basically, we're looking at a, if everyone's okay, with item 11 resolutions for suspension of the rules to approve A through F. Anyone have any problem with that? I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to approve resolutions A through F.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Hanson for
No, Nelson.
Alderperson Nelson. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we have to approve 11 resolutions, items A through F. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Ledvina. Discussion, comments? That said, roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Aye.
Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager.
Aye.
Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Up next, 11 resolutions. Item G, Resolution 2625, State of Emergency Declaration, Weather Disaster. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Discussion, comments regarding this declaration. I think it's fairly clear, correct? Unfortunate, but we have it. That said, we need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Estercon.
Aye.
Gantz.
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
Conager. Ledvina.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
P-Rock.
Aye.
Mayor Boyd.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12, future agenda items. I did have the one that we talked about before regarding
Community service grants?
community service grants. Do we have something else too?
We did.
Self-funding.
The funding,
Yes.
funding mechanisms. Discussion regarding funding mechanisms. The Southbridge Connector. Anyone have anything else? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, so the excess landfill fuel sales tax that's been sitting out there for about a decade now. And there's a pot of money that was allocated to streetscaping projects, and I think most of that went to definitely to Pier. And I know one of the projects was for like benches or seating in the downtown. So I'm just wondering if we can get an update on when that's going to be installed and kind of come up with a plan to start spending down that streetscaping money that's been sitting out there.
Very good, thank you. You have it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Other future agenda items? Alderperson Carpenter.
Yes, this pertains to Brown County, and I don't know if we can't change anything they want to do, but Grant Street construction, I think, is not going to be done the way it was supposed to be done. They're only going to do the one section, if I read anything correct, and so I just like an update on Grant Street, if it's all going to be done this year completely, because,
It is supposed to be done this year.
okay, I heard it was only going, they were
We'll
going to miss
verify.
this section because there's too much curb and gutter that was supposed to be getting.
There's one.
We'll verify, but it's supposed to be done this year.
Right.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
just would like
Thank you.
that verified, please.
Sounds good. Other future agenda items? All right, looks like you're all good there. Item 13, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Hanson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.